One thing that most modern vehicles have on them is steering wheel controls. So, like your cruise control buttons will be on the steering wheel. Of course, the horn, an airbag. You may have radio controls, heated steering wheel, and all that. Well, those don't just work off of remote control. There are wires that come up the steering column. And if you think about it, I should have brought a harness from work. But what I'm going to do here is kind of give away where I'm going with this. But if you take a wiring harness and you twist it back and forth as the steering wheel is turning, what's going to happen eventually to those wires? Because you got to think about it. For each button, you're going to have at least two wires for the most part. So if you've got volume up, volume down, that's two wires. Seek, that's going to be, seek up, seek down. That's going to be two wires. The horn is going to be one wire. Airbag is going to be at least two wires. And we're talking 7 wires just in those few things, but so many vehicles have cruise control and OnStar or whatever, type of hands-free calling that manufacturer puts in it. So my point is, there's a lot of things going into that steering wheel that need to turn without twisting the actual wire, right? Because if the wire twists back and forth, or if the harness twists back and forth enough, it's going to cause the wires to break or to the insulation to twist off and cause shorts. So that's what we're going to address today, is how manufacturers solve this issue and some really quick and easy ways to diagnose these. Now, what I'm going to be using is a 2006 Tahoe wiring diagram. And you're like, come on, Bill, 2006, really? That's 20 years old. It is. But I also realize that a lot of people that watch my channel are DIYers, and newer vehicles, they do use CAN bus and they communicate in different ways. But this is a really cool wiring diagram and an illustration of how things work. So get ready, and we're going to dive into it very soon. Okay, so we talked about the problem that manufacturers needed to solve, more like the engineers actually. As more and more buttons were added to the steering wheel, that meant more wires coming through the steering column to the steering wheel, and the horn ring just was not going to be able to take care of that. And that's what we talked about earlier, where I showed you the airbag coil and the ribbon of wire that's in it. It's not really ribbon of wire, but it's ribbon with circuits running through it. But before we get started, I did want to take just a couple minutes to thank you guys for all the support. I am blown away at the number of viewers, of subscribers over the last month. The comments, thank you very, very much. That really inspires me and pushes me to make more videos. So I appreciate it. And please, if you have not commented, please comment. And be sure to like and subscribe to this video and my other videos if you so desire. Thank you very, very much for your support. It means a ton. So I'm going to share my screen. There we go. All right. So we have the wiring diagram here. And again, this is a 2006 Tahoe with the steering wheel controls that are pertaining just to the radio controls that we can do on the steering wheel only. Okay. So what I want to start with is over on the right-hand side, we've got the airbag coil. Okay. That's what I just circled. So that's our airbag coil. Above it are the wires that go through the steering column to the body control module. Okay. And if you remember from my schematics video, the dashed line around the body control module, the BCM, means that we're not seeing all of the wiring inside the BCM. The BCM controls a ton of stuff. All they're showing us is what is pertinent to what we need to see as far as the audio steering wheel controls or radio steering wheel controls. So I wanted to point out that's the body control module at the top with the long rectangular dashed line. And then below it, the two kind of swirly, almost at symbol looking things. That is the SRO coil or clock spring. That is the drawing for those. So let me clear these annotations really quick. And I want to show you, I want to talk just a little bit about series circuits. So as we, let me point out a couple more things first. Sorry about that. On the right-hand side, the circuit that's coming out of the body control module right here, that is our power supply. Most of the time, that's going to be 5 volts. Yeah, the V is kind of off the chart there, or off the screen, but that's going to be a 5 volt signal coming through. Okay. And then to the left of that is going to be our return or our ground circuit. But one thing I wanted to point out to you, which is going to be important here, is this little tiny rectangular box right there in the body control module. Okay. So that's actually a resistor, and that's what they call a sensing resistor. So the body control module is going to measure the voltage drop across that resistor, and that's how it's going to know what button we've pushed. I'm getting a little bit ahead. This will all be tied up really nicely here, hopefully very, very soon. So let me get rid of this. Just wanted to point out those things so going forward you will kind of understand what I'm talking about here. So right here really quick is a connector. If you remember from my schematics video, if you have not watched the schematics video, introduction to electrical wiring diagram schematics, if you want to get super technical, this isn't necessarily a schematic. This is a diagram, but I use the words interchangeably, as you can tell. But what we're looking at here is this is a connector, and we know that because right here it's named C, looks like C201, connector 201, and then we have B12 on the right hand side, and I can't quite see the other one on my screen, but what those are the terminals or the pins, the metal connectors, not connectors, the metal pins inside that connector. So the connector is the big plastic part. The pins or the terminals are the metal part that actually do the connecting. Okay. That's a crash course on my wiring diagrams video. Okay. Now back to what I was going with. So remember, we got 5 volts. And let's trace the 5 volts. So the 5 volts is going to come from the body control module through the airbag coil. Okay. And then come on down to our right side steering wheel control. So this is the right hand side of the steering wheel control. This is what we'd use our right hand to do. Okay. The first thing we're going to come across, and I'm going to switch to this so you can see it a little bit better, is a resistor. So that rectangular thing is a resistor, and it is 1,270 ohms. Okay, that's the resistance of that resistor. So once we get into Ohm's law, basically we're going to take 5 volts, we're going to divide it by 1,270, and that is going to be how much current we have coming through there after it goes through the resistor. Okay, so in any circuit, the very last load, each one of these resistors does work. That's called a load. The light in the room that you're in right now, that uses voltage, it uses electricity. That's a load. So at the end of the last load in a circuit, on the other side of that, there should be very, very, very minuscule but on most voltmeters, you're going to read 0 volts. So as an example, 5 volts coming down, and we wanted to go volume up. Okay. So we're going to push our button, and now we have completed this circuit. I'm going to switch back to this scene, and let's just trace it all the way back up to our ground. So there is still some voltage left, more so than normal, because remember, this little tiny rectangle inside the body control module is the sensing resistor. And so the rest of the voltage will be dropped through that resistor. And when it reads that, it's going to know, hey, Bill, wants the volume up based on the voltage that it reads that's left over from pushing the volume up button. Hope that makes sense. So voltage is going to be eaten up. The amperage is going to be the same throughout the entire circuit. So I may have misstated just a few minutes ago when I was talking about what was eaten up through the resistor. So my apologies on that. The amperage is going to stay the same throughout the entire circuit. The voltage will drop as we go through each load. So that's volume up. All right, clear that. And then if we go volume down, okay, I'm going to trace it 5 volts all the way down. Now we're going to go here, and we're going through 2 resistors. Okay. Let me zoom in. So this time we're going through 2 resistors. We're going through a 1270 ohm resistor and a 290 ohm resistor. We are eating more of the voltage up. So there'll be less voltage that the BCM is going to read through its sensing resistor, and it knows what voltage is supposed to be there for each command. Okay, so we're commanding volume down. It's going to see that, that's what we commanded based on the voltage that it's going to read across that sensing resistor. Then it's going to say, hey, it's time to lower the volume. You kind of getting that? Okay. So I'm going to clear this annotation. And then let's go to seek up. So we want to seek for stations. So we're going to, again, 5 volts. We're going to go through 1 resistor, 2 resistors, 3 resistors, 4 resistors, and then we'll complete our circuit back to the body control module. Now on this, we have 1270, 294, 340, it looks like, and then 475. So we add all of those resistances together, which is going to lower the voltage even more. And then the trace resistor up here at the body, the sensing resistor up here at the body control module. Again, the BCM, it will know how much voltage drops across it. And based on what number it sees, it's going to know that we have selected seek up, and the radio will start seeking for stations going up the radio dial. Okay. So now to the left side, keep in mind, we got 5 volts here. So our 5 volts, if we don't do anything with our right steering wheel control, we're going to have voltage coming down, ready to do work. We'll have voltage all the way to right here, ready to do some work. And then depending on what we choose to do with our left steering wheel control, so we've got, this is if we wanted to do a voice call. So we got hands-free calling. If we push the down button, we now have all of these resistors from the right side button, 1270, 294, 346, 475, plus 715 ohms now. That's going to be eating up a lot of our voltage. And then we'll just trace it right back up to the body control module, and there'll be a little bit of trace voltage left so that our sensing resistor can tell the body control module, hey, this is what Bill wants to do with the radio or with hands-free calling or whatever. So I think I've covered that pretty well. Hopefully you have a pretty good understanding. of this part of the circuit. So the next thing is, okay, Bill, but we're sending this to the body control module. We're not sending it to the radio. So what's up with that? Well, the body control module is connected to a class 2 serial data bus on this vehicle. And if you look over to the left-hand side, our radio serial data is connected to the body control module. So it's going to be a wire that runs straight from the BCM to the radio. And then, so the BCM is going to say, oh, Bill wants to go to voice mode. So it's going to send a signal to the radio. Hey, Bill wants to go to voice mode. Do it. And then the radio will do as asked if everything is working properly. Okay. So I hope everyone is with me so far. You got me. You understand, what's going on, how these work. So let's talk about diagnosing now. So how are we going to diagnose these circuits? Because on a 2006, and the reason I chose the 2006 is because I realize a lot of my audience is DIYers, new techs, or you may own your own shop or you're restoring a vehicle and you just want to add steering wheel controls, or your steering wheel controls don't work. It's really not that hard to diagnose them. So I'm going to give you some pretty quick tips. They're not 100% every single time, but what diagnosis is on anything, right? So let's say that your right side steering wheel controls don't work, but the left side does. What could be the issue? Just looking at the wiring diagram, could we have a broken airbag coil ribbon? No. If we did, then we would not have, let's just say, we broke it, right? Or it's broke. So we wouldn't have the 5 volts coming through it to go to the right side or the left side steering wheel control. So neither steering wheel neither steering wheel control would work in that case. Okay. Same with the ground side. So if something broke on the ground side, again, the voltage has to be returned back to the body control module for it to sense what we want to do. So if we have a broken airbag coil ribbon, then same thing. We're not going to get a return back to the body control module. The body control module has no clue. And both of our steering wheel controls still won't work because of that. So if we just have one steering wheel control that works, but the other ones don't, what is that telling you? Okay. 99% of the time, it is the button itself is bad. The control itself is bad. Something with the contacts here, or on the left side, something with these contacts is bad. It can't be anything in this circuit, this entire circuit. It can't be anything with it. Now, it could be something between the right side and the left. It could be something between the right side and the left side. But our right side would still work. Our left side would not in that case, because the left side gets its power by going through the right side. So that's really the only case that I could see that it would be, other than what I'm saying. So if the right side works, left side doesn't, chances are still that it's a bad left side switch. But it could be a broke wire right here. Could be. Okay. A really quick tip for you though. If one of your steering wheel controls, or let me back up, if both of your steering wheel controls are inoperative, then you may think, hey, I've got a bad airbag coil. Kind of makes sense. It's logical. What's a really quick test we can use to see if that airbag coil is more suspicious? So what else do we have on the steering wheel that is not connected to the radio? Well, we've got driver information center controls. We've got sometimes heated steering wheel controls, we have cruise control controls. But what I would do, a really quick, simple test, hit the horn. If the horn blows, your airbag coil is most likely, again, 99% of the time, if the horn blows, the airbag coil is not the issue. Okay? So if the horn blows and both of your steering wheel controls are inoperative, chances are you've got just bad contacts in your steering wheel controls. I have seen this more often than you think, that more than one goes bad at a time. Okay? So that's a quick diagnostic tip on that. And I think that about covers it, y'all. So again, I just wanted to do this video to help you understand steering wheel controls, get your mind thinking about electricity, some resistances, some circuits, how they work, how they interact. And probably my next lesson will be on Ohm's law. And I may tackle each type of circuit, one per video. So one video on series circuits, one video on parallel circuits, one video on series and parallel circuits, to really not overwhelm you with the different types of circuits, and then using Ohm's law to figure out what you should expect when you're measuring voltage, amperage, or resistances in a circuit. And then sometime in the future also, I will teach you how to use voltmeters. So voltmeters come in different shapes and sizes. This is one. These are all, oh shoot, there. Let me go back to my full screen. There we go. So this is one of my personal meters right here. I've also got this one. This was my most expensive Mac meter. My very first voltmeter that I bought was actually a little, probably pretty expensive at the time, but a Blue Point / Snap-on, pretty basic voltmeter, but hey, it does the trick. So I want to do a lesson one day on voltmeters and their settings and how to operate them. That's why I've got them kind of scattered all around me. So hope that answered any questions you may have. If you have any further questions, please post them in comments. Please make comments. I appreciate the comments, appreciate the feedback. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and be sure that you have notifications turned on so you can get the notification for my next video, which should drop in the next 2 weeks, most likely. Again, I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. See you next time. And remember, if I can figure this out, it's really not that difficult. Once you understand the basics, then you can do it too. Go out there and do some practices. See you next time. Take care. God bless.